Just waiting for my TikTok audience. You can hear a homeless guy out there yelling. Hello. It's an interesting handle. Melissa Steele Chan. Just looking at your names. Anyway, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? I am doing a new behavior board, by the way. It's all the same stuff. I'm just changing a few things because I've had the same one up for a year. So I'm going to be changing it soon. So it's all the same. It's just maybe better explained. So where are you from? What part of the world are you from? Florida. I don't know if I'll ever get down to Florida. It's so far away. Probably will one day. I always say I'm going to get everywhere one day. Too busy right now, but I'll figure it all out. Montreal. Hi, Montreal. I don't know anyone in Montreal who lives in Montreal. I'll probably get there one day. So where are you from? The UK. Hello, the UK. Been there. I was there in 1979, I think. I did the whole Europe thing like we did back in the day. I don't know if people are still doing that. But yeah, I did the whole Europe thing. I think I did 6 countries in 7 days. Or California. Hi, California. Arkansas. Hi, Arkansas. Love Southern accents. Carrie, Ireland. Ireland. I probably heard this a million times, but I was adopted and I was told I was Irish. Turns out I'm not, but I celebrated every St. Paddy's Day with a little bit of the Irish in me. Turns out no Irish, I'm Norwegian. It's funny. Yeah, it's amazing. You feel what you're told, you sort of feel it. Like I could have told me I was from Mars. I would have felt like I was a Martian. Okay, so Latvia. Latvia. I don't even know where that is. I'll look it up later. Latvia. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I was born and raised in Vancouver. Reading, is that Reading? Not Reading, it's Reading, isn't it? Is that right? Reading, England. Seychelles. What the heck is that? Never heard of it. Seychelles? Seychelles. Where's that? I'll look that up too. I'm gonna look it up later. Is it reading? Is it Reading or reading? Orange County. I can say that. Oh, Africa. Oh, okay. I'm gonna look up and see where that is. Welcome. Wales. Hi, Wales. I'm gonna do all that one day. I'm gonna do Wales, Ireland, Scotland. I'm gonna do that all one day. Group. I don't really like going to visit a whole bunch of different places in one trip. I find it exhausting. I think I'd rather go somewhere like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I might go to a little group of countries over in Europe and that, but I'm not going to do it all. Like I did that back in the day. Getting too old for that. I'm in my 60s now. Canada, another Canadian. Welcome. Okay, let's get going now. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, and download my free behavior board. You're on that behavior board also. By the way, I'm doing a whole new behavior board. I'm working on it now. It'll be available soon. I'm not going to keep it the same place as the other one. So if you want the updated one, you'll have to sign up because I'm going to eventually be getting rid of that other one. It's just where I have it. It's not quite working for me in my system. You've got to change things around, right? But anyway, yeah, I just have to change that. So, but it's same information, no new information. I think it'll just be laid out a little bit nicer. That's all. Anyway, I'm very excited. I just ordered a brand new keyboard and mouse, and I love technology. Isn't it fun getting new toys? I just love it. I also just bought a Ninja Creamy, makes ice cream, and But anyway, well, I eat like only healthy stuff, so it's a lot of spinach in there, but it's freaking delicious. Isn't that fun getting stuff like that? New techie stuff, new appliances. But yeah, that doesn't take much to excite me, does it? Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them. And I always say these are TikTok answers. They're general. If it's something more in depth, you'd have to hire me for coaching. If I have to assess it and figure it out, that's coaching. But usually I can sort of give you a decent answer on TikTok. But I just want to make that very clear that I can't always answer everything, especially teenage stuff. I usually need a little bit more history. Not always. Okay. What do I do about my toddler laughing every time I try and correct them? Well, they're just testing you. That's all it is. You just ignore it. Just correct them and follow through with consequences if necessary, and just ignore the laughter. It's just their way of trying to manipulate you. If you get upset by it, they're winning. Should I ask my kid to do stuff or demand? Well, I don't demand anything. I just say, let's say you want them to do chores. You have a chore chart, make it really easy, really simple. And then you put on my behavior board. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. Put on that follow chore chart. And then if they don't, there's a consequence. So I always say I just set my kids up with rules. And then if they broke them, then there was a consequence. I never used a behavior board, but it's the same idea. So, but yeah, I never would repeat myself, or I never really told them what to do. They just understood you got to do homework. You can't, there's no TV until you've done homework. Like, they just understood you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. That was their incentive. You just got to get stuff done before you get the fun stuff. They just learned, they didn't think anything of it. They just learned that from a really young age. What to do when a toddler is throwing a tantrum in a restaurant? Leave. Please do that for the other patrons. It's not fair to other people. We did that with my son. One of us would usually just take him out into the car or the parking lot, let him scream out there for a while till he was over it, and then he came back in. So yeah, don't do that to other people. Just get out, pack up your food, and get out. I would never do that to other people. It's not fair to them. It's different in a mall or somewhere loud where people are just walking past. But if they're stuck on a table right next to that, you've just ruined their meal. How to keep a 20-month-old in the backyard without a fence or away from the street at the park? Well, I don't know what to tell you with that. Like, you can't. You just have to hang on to them or put them on a leash. I mean, it's the only way, So, yeah. She gets louder and starts yelling when I ignore her. Good. That's her way of processing it. That's like, I am the leader. I'm going to keep screaming until I am in control. That's all that is. Don't call her bluff. Well, it's not a bluff. Don't call that. Just let it go. Yeah, they're going to fight back. They're going to fight back. Like, if you haven't been the leader in the past and you're trying to be a leader now, they're going to fight back for the control that they had before. They usually get worse before they get better. But remember, you got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. The bigger the tantrum, the bigger the lesson. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. Let them have that. That's on them. I always say their scenes, their fits, their tantrums, it's none of your business. That's their own processing system, figuring it out. It's all it is. It's not about feelings or emotions. It's just about control. It's like, my way. I want my way. That's all it is. And I was so against the leash thing until my nephew was a runner. It only lasted a couple of years. Yeah, it's a temporary thing. I'll tell you a funny story. Two of my cousins, they're sisters. The older one had a little boy, and he was really hyperactive, like really hyperactive. And so was my brother. It runs in the family, evidently. But anyway, yeah, they were just, my mom used to say with my brother, she said that he got into 20 things before she even knew he was gone. Like, he just was so fast when he was a toddler. Anyway, so the younger sister who babysat her nephew one day was horrified when she saw that her sister tied him up to a pole in the middle of the room. And he would run around, he'd wind himself up, then he'd had a great time. He was winding himself up and then unwinding, right? This is like 50 years ago, so it's before medication. I don't know if they put him on Medicaid, I don't know. Anyway, so she was horrified. She goes, I would never tie a child up. Well, of course, the mother came home an hour later and the boy was tied up. And then the sister said, I get it. Like, it was for his own safety. I mean, he was just wild. He'd be on top of a counter, diving off it, So yeah, don't judge other people till you walk a mile in their shoes, right? How do you discipline a preschooler? That's a 3 and a 4-year-old. Use my behavior board. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. It teaches you how to give respect to get it. You do that through discipline. With teenagers, you get respect before you discipline, but with little ones, you discipline to get respect. How do you deal with a child who says you don't love me? I go, whatever. They only say that when they're not getting their own way. It's like, well, you don't love me and I don't love you. Whatever. Just don't call their bluff. They're just manipulating you. That's all it is. Yes, they can manipulate at a very young age. Absolutely. Someone said they are incapable of manipulating if they're 5 and under. That's bull. They know exactly what they're doing. How to teach a 4-year-old not to interrupt. Put down no interrupting on the behavior board, and every time they do, there's a consequence. We all learn to be accountable through consequences. Would you pay your rent if you never had to, if there was no consequence? Would you drive the speed limit if there was no consequence? It's that speed limit that keeps me under control. I love driving fast. But yeah, I don't because of the speed limit. Like I need it with that. Not with everything, but but anyway, yeah, children learn through consequences. We all do. That's why we pay taxes. That's why we do all the stuff we don't want to do, because there's a consequence if we don't. It's the same with children. If there's no consequence, why wouldn't they keep doing it? I love everything. Oh, I have to read this comment. It's very valuable. I love everything you post on TikTok. Well, thank you very much. You're so educational and have helped me so much. I'm thrilled to hear that. That's why I'm on here. Absolutely. That's why I'm on here, because I know it's helping people. I get emails every single day saying that I'm helping. This is all my free stuff. If you want questions answered, don't email me. I can't do it on there. I'm too busy. But this is my free answering questions. And then if you need a next level, you can hire me for coaching. But yeah, I'm thrilled to be able to help people. Most people are never going to hire me, and I wouldn't want that anyway, because I couldn't do it all, right? So this is my way of getting the message out there, how to set you up as a calm leader for your children. So you'll just sail through those teen years like I did. That's my goal for you, is those teen years. I would never take parenting advice from someone who hasn't raised teenagers and doesn't specialize in teenagers, because that is the challenge. That's when all the mistakes you've made, that's when they come back at you. So you better make sure you got all your ducks in a row when they're younger to hit those teen years with ease. That's my favorite age, the teen years. My 13-year-old always has had an attitude, never wants to listen, don't know what else to do. Okay, so you got a bond with I'm guessing here. I don't know what's going on exactly, but with teenagers, you use the behavior board. I call it like an accountability chart or a family law. And you say something like this: okay, we've just got this new family law chart. We're going to get organized here because I want to be a better parent. Always say it like that. I want to be a better parent. So say your rule from now on is something like dirty clothes in the hamper and nowhere else. That means they can't lay on the floor all day and then go in the hamper late at night. That's why you say and nowhere else. Anyway, so something like that. Then you say to her, and what do you want from me? What do you want my rule to be? So you bond with your teenager by using the behavior board, and you make sure you break your rule. So you're showing your kids how this is done. When you do break your rule, if you yell or something, then you have to do something for her, something she wants. Might be driving her somewhere. It might be, I don't know, taking her out for coffee, or I guess at 13, she's not drinking coffee, but you get the idea. Taking her out somewhere. Maybe every time you yell, you have to take her out to, I don't know, but you figure it out. Every single home is different. But anyway, yeah, they start getting, and then you start bonding with her more. Also, the 2 most important parenting skills with teenagers, number 1 is listening. You listen to understand and show empathy. Something like this: wow, that sounds really frustrating. Yeah, sorry about that. That would be very frustrating. And then shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Do not go that extra step and give advice. If she wants it, she'll ask. Okay, she already knows what it is anyway. It's very rare they don't already know what you're going to say. They just want to unload. The better you get at this is just listening to understand, then stop talking. The better you get at that, the more likely they're going to talk to you and tell you everything, and also start asking for your advice. And be very careful when you hand out advice. This is how I would do it. If they said, Mom, well, what should I do? I always used to say this. My mom did it too. We both sort of said the same thing, is, well, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And you work it out together. You want to raise strong individuals who can figure out their own problems. The second most important parenting skill with teenagers is negotiating. You negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want you home by 11 o'clock tonight. Well, how about 12? Yeah, 11:30. How's that? See, you negotiate pretty much everything. You got to give respect to get it. You got to give a lot before you get it with teenagers. I was just talking to a client today and I said, sometimes the gold comes months after we've worked together because you're changing your own parenting habits. It's especially hard when you've got teenagers because you're really, set in your ways by that. You've been raising them a certain way, you've been a certain type of parent, and I'm asking you to shake that up and change it. So sometimes I just give you all the tools right now. Some parents do use all those tools right away, but most don't. Most pick and choose, and because it's hard to change. So you've just got all these tools. So the next time down the road, these things start to come up, you'll know what to do. But it's hard to change because remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing parents here. We're setting you up as calm leaders. It's never about the kids. It's about you. Now, question on the allowance versus paid chores. I don't pay for chores. What if they just don't do their chores that are expected? There's a consequence. If you don't do your chores, there's a consequence. So there's always two consequences. Well, look at my behavior board. It explains the whole thing. The behavior board's free on my website, bratbusters.com. But yeah, if they don't do chores, there's a consequence. Remember, I just said you teach accountability by having consequences. That's why we don't speed down the freeway. Or we do, but not quite as much as we want to, but you get the idea. That's why there's stop signs and police there to police that. So it's because we're accountable. That's why we pay our bill. We pay for our groceries instead of walking out without them because we'll get arrested. There's accountability because we're policed. There's a consequence. Do they still get allowance? Yeah, allowance has nothing to do with chores. Nothing. Got to keep them separate. You live here, you clean up after yourself. That's it. You contribute to the household. Allowance, every child deserves to learn to manage money. But yeah, just keep it small. And you're in charge of how they spend it too when they're young. Okay? They can't just go out and buy candy or anything. You're still in charge of what they get, but it is their money. But anyway, I won't go on too much about that. That video blew up. I did not see that coming at all. I did that one and I thought every time I think no one's going to look at a video, it blows up. And then I do a video, I go, oh, this one's gold. No one looks at it. I cannot pick and choose. I have no idea what's going to do well, but that allowance one blew up all over. I got stuff from all over the world, interviews all over the world with that one. Isn't that weird? Why is that? Why was that one so interesting? It's not even about behavior or relationships. It's just allowance and chores. Anyway, I don't know. Whoops, just flew by here. Any recommendations on how to stay calm when met with consistent attitude? Yeah, that's their own manipulation. If you allow yourself to be pulled into that, that's on you. Like, I can't help you with that. You just have to understand that attitude goes away. Once you're a calm leader, there's no attitude. It just goes away. It just is a tell. It means you got to work on your leadership skills. That's all it is. They're letting you know by their bad attitude. That's what that means. Yeah, it's like you can't address I never address attitude. It's just like, oh, okay, leadership isn't there. That's all it means. 19-month-old cry every time we don't do something, starts to be, yeah, they're going to do that. They're just toddlers. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're learning, right? So yeah, that's very, very common. Just ignore it. Make sure they can't hit you. Restrain them if you have to. Hold their hands. Just say no and look away. No, don't give that any attention. It's consistent corrective actions, not words. Someone said no is a word. Yeah, no is a word. You caught me. It's these mini therapy sessions with toddlers. They're just garbage. They're super trendy right now. It's garbage. Absolute crap. Toddlers do not learn through words. They learn through actions. Two-year-old has mega tantrums when something doesn't go his way. I actually have a whole course on that. It's called Toddler Tantrum Busting if you're interested. It's one of my mini courses. It's just $29 and it talks all about tantrums in great detail. Yeah, you just ignore them. If they get violent, then you restrain them. As soon as they start to calm down, you let go, but you still ignore them. You have to learn how to ignore tantrums. They are learning how to process this, and they're watching you. Remember, they're not listening to you. They're watching you. If I'm calm and I'm on the high road, I'm on the calm road, right? If I'm just staying calm, they're watching me. I am modeling what I want from them. That's how they learn, okay? If you enter the crazy and reward it with attention, then how are they going to learn anything? Doesn't make any sense. How do you stop a domineering twin always wanting first place? I don't know the age. Are they 16 or 2? I don't know the age. 2-year-old is biting at daycare but not at home. How can I? You can't correct that because you're not with them. It's an in the moment thing. Toddlers live in the moment. 2-year-old, it has to be consistent corrective action right in the moment. Generally, daycare gets a lot of biters, so they usually know how to deal with it. If they've asked you how to deal with it, say, I don't know, I'm not there. Like you cannot stop that if you're not there. Like you can't have a discussion with them at bedtime. By the way, no more biting tomorrow. Do we understand each other? Okay. It's just not possible. Okay, the competitive twins at 6 years old. Learn how to bond with them as if you're the mom and you've got 6-year-old twins, you don't take them up, you don't play with them separately, you play with them as a group. And you very specifically play something that one is really stronger at, and then you play something the other one's really stronger at. You go back and forth and you learn how to teach them how to be good sports. That's a little bit more involved. You want to hire me with that? It's quite a creative one. I have to figure out what would work in your home. If you want to hire me with that, that might be 3 sessions because they're 6 years old by now. So it might, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's a creative one. I have to come up with ideas depending on your household, what's going on there. Everywhere we go, my 4-year-old son wants to wrestle and fight with other kids and always wants to be first. Don't know what's going on there. It's usually that would be at 4 years old. That's a learned behavior. Do you wrestle with them at home? Like, does the dad or mom wrestle with them at home? If so, I would suggest you don't do it. If you don't do with him, you don't want him to do with other people. So yeah, it's a learned thing generally that at 4 years old. So I don't quite know what's going on there. I have to figure that out. Again, that might be, if you want my help, it might be coaching. Put him in sports. Yeah, he could also become the sports bully too. I don't know. He just loves to rough play. Yeah, well, I'd have to figure it all out. I'd have to figure out where it started, how he does it, and what you say, what you did about it, and I don't know. I'd have to figure that one out. 2-year-old's always fighting over a toy. Put it away. Get rid of it. Get rid of the problem. Yeah, you got to manage that stuff. You're fighting over this. Here it goes. It's going away. You can set it up where they can see it, but can't touch it. Put it away for the day, maybe. You can't reason with a 2-year-old. My 3-year-old does not listen. That just says they don't respect you. That's all that means. So you got to work on your leadership skills. Remember, it's never about them. People always say, my kid's doing this. So we're never fixing kids. We're fixing you. You set yourself up as a leader. They listen. They respect you. They have a good attitude. They respect themselves. They have high self-esteem. They feel safe. Win, 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 win. It's leadership. Everything starts there. Just work on your own leadership skills. That's all this is. That's all I teach is your leadership. Do you know why I know that for a fact? It's never the kids. I've worked with hundreds of kids. I've always gotten respect. Is it those kids that are, and I've never been handed an easy kid, by the way. No one ever said, here's an easy one, Lisa. I always got the challenging kids with all sorts of, I used to call them alphabet kids. They ADHD, ODD, WXYZ after their name. I mean, they had everything after their names. I managed to get all their respect. So is that them or me, right? It's never the kids. It's you. How do you become a leader? Just keep watching. Do you mentor teachers? That's a tough question. I'll tell you why it's a tough question. A huge percentage of my clients have child development degrees. They're either teachers, principals, social workers, school counselors, child psychologists. I get a huge percentage of those as clients because a lot of this just old-fashioned common sense and experience, right? Anyway, I've never been hired by a youth worker. If you can get respect from troubled teens, you don't need my help. That's my specialty. I mentored troubled teens. That's a PhD and all this stuff. Anyway, I'll tell you why that's such a hard one to answer, because I know I've been hired to help with students, clients, patients, but I always say I don't do that. So they hire me and pretend those kids are their own kids. They'll admit it later. So, but yeah, I don't teach teaching at all. I just don't. I don't know anything about it. If I had to get up and teach, I think I'd soil myself. I couldn't do it. They're different. One is an institution and one is home. They're very different. They're very, very different. One's personal. It's personal. Okay, this one's too confusing. I'll read it out because there might be other people going through this too. How to handle stepchildren who tell the parents different stories about the other parents. I can't get into that because I don't know what's going on. Imagine all the stuff going on there. There's just too much to unpack. It's like a puzzle. You want me to put it together here with just that one little paragraph? I can't. I need more puzzle pieces before I can figure that one out. So yeah, if you want to hire me, you have to go to my website, bratbusters.com. Okay. Preschooler asks, why don't cousins have to behave and I do? I never know what to say. Oh, I got that from my kids. They each ask this once and only once. How come so and so get their mother lets, and I say, I'm not their mother. I'm your mother. Like, in other words, don't question me. Like, I don't defend myself. I'm not their mother. I'm your mother. And my kids both went, oh, okay. Like, they didn't even question it. Actually, they did. I think just one of them asked once, and even then it wasn't really sincere because they were happy kids. They were happy. They could see that when other kids are acting out, they're miserable. Kids who are acting out are very unhappy. Generally, they're not happy kids. My kids were happy. They respected me. I respected them. It was just easy. They didn't want that. They just felt uncomfortable around that. It made them feel very awkward. So yeah, I think one of them asked something that they were confused by it. Oh, what can I tell my 1 and 8 month old? Oh, it's just a baby still almost. When they get pushed or they push someone else, just say no and just take them away from the kid who pushed them, or just say no. They're just brand new. You can't say anything to them. They're all about consistent corrective actions. But if another kid pushed my toddlers around, I would just leave. Like, if that mother doesn't know what to do and doesn't know how to stop her toddler from hitting other kids, I just leave. You can't win that. I would never say anything to another mother. The first school is home. Actually, the only school is home. Like, it is amazing how the power that you have. You have so much more power than you even realize. I don't want to go on too much about that, but when you're a really good leader, you're like a mentor to your children. You're like a good sports coach. You're someone that they want to tell everything to and run everything by. So even though they're learning stuff out there, they can still come home and run it by you. They want your opinion on it. They want to tell you everything. I used to say nothing's happened till I told my mom. And my daughter said that too. She goes, nothing, it's a daughter mother thing, I think. Nothing's happened till I told you. It's just sort of that you're the person that they tell everything to. So yeah, my son's different. Boys, men are just different. He did tell me everything when he was young. Oh, what to do about a 5-year-old that says mean, hurtful things? Just say, don't be mean, or don't say mean things. Don't say bad words. Don't name call. Don't say mean things. It's all in that same group. And then there's a consequence when he does. Period. Keep it simple. Don't overanalyze all this stuff. I get why they say it. They're testing you. Are you going to be a leader or not? That's all they're saying. Are you going to be a leader? No? Okay, I hate you. Like, that's all they're doing. They're begging for leadership. Children need, crave, and want a leader. If you don't provide it for them, they're going to be susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the internet, the drug dealer on the corner, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching for it. They're going to be very vulnerable. You don't want that. You want them to be strong, and you want them to be strong. That's what leadership builds strong kids. There's 3 different types of parenting the way I do it. And I just simplify it. There's the authority, which is the old way, my way or the highway. You listen to me because I'm your parent. That's the old fashioned way. Then there's the pleaser. That's the real trendy new way. We discuss all their big feelings and all this. We roll out the red carpet. You're trying to make everything easy for them. So the authority, if you're going to err on either side, err on the side of the authority. They raise stronger kids. The pleasers raise self-entitled snowflakes who tend to have mental health issues. It's more common in that group. Okay, they're trying to make everything too easy for them. And the authority builds resentment in the teen years. So you get snotty resentment going on in the teen years. I would rather that than become a doormat. The pleasers become doormats. Your teenagers are going to wipe their feet on you. Okay. So yeah, and they're weaker. You want to raise stronger individuals. The leader is just there to guide. It's like a mentor, someone that builds them up, makes them feel good about themselves, and builds strong, resilient people. Okay, that's what you want. I forgot my microphone. YouTube sound is going to be horrible. Sorry about that on YouTube. Anyway, I just realized that. Yeah. And the leader, the kids would never say, I hate you or anything like that to a leader. They just don't. It'd be embarrassing. Would they say that to a sports coach that they love? No. Or a mentor, someone they looked up to? They just don't, right? It would be embarrassed. 2-year-old throws tantrum when in car seat, cries to the point of choking himself. Help. Yeah, they're gonna do that. Once they realize you're never gonna give into it, they'll just stop. If they're choking, you think they're gonna throw up and die, then just pull over and get them out of the car seat if you have to keep them alive, right? But yeah, it's just a tantrum. They just don't wanna be in there. Okay, well, I don't quite understand your question, but what to do, an 8-year-old wants to live by mom's rules at our home, her very gentle style, strict leadership. I don't know what you mean. Okay, I'll just tell you the standard answer is children are very drawn to a leader. You become like the Pied Piper because you're the one that they want to please. And then when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint. In other words, the leader's opinion means a lot to you. It's kind of your gut, what do they call that? Something that you live by. You live by that leader's reaction to whatever's going on. It's just the way it is. It's like everyone deserves to have a leader. Like my mom was like that. She was my leader. Like I looked to her. If she approved of it, it was all good. It's just sort of the way it is. So anyway, don't worry about what anyone else is doing with your kids. If you're the leader, they're going to sort of be under your leadership umbrella. That's the one that's going to guide them along in life because they're very drawn to that. So just work on yourself. You can only work on yourself. I'll tell you this kind of, not a story, but just sort of the way we worked it out. My ex-husband and I, he didn't discipline or anything. I had tons of experience with kids before I had our own. And I knew how I wanted them to be raised. I wanted them to be raised very confident, happy, and nice kids. That was my goal. Anyway, I used to say, but my goal is to get them when they're adults. I just want them to be alive and not be in jail. So at a low bar. I always used to say that. So anyway, but his style was very different. The kids walked all over him when they were little. They would try stuff, right? As they get older, they carry your leadership umbrella everywhere, so they don't treat anyone like that. But when they were maybe 2 and 3, they would push him around more. So he had a bad day with our son. He was out with him without me, and he came home and he was not happy about the way our son had acted. So he said, "What should I have done?" And I say, "Just say, do you want me to tell mom?" And worked like a charm. "Do you want me to tell mom?" "No." Good as gold. Good as gold. So they only need one leader and use that leader as the threat. It just meant that we were on the same page, you see, because their dad was never going to discipline. It just wasn't his way. He's a good dad. Discipline just didn't come naturally to him. So it worked really well because we were on the same page. He backed me up. And then the joke got to be that he was the treat master. I wasn't. I didn't purposely do a lot of that because that was his thing, right? I'm the leader. He's the treat master. So I didn't want to take that away from him. Anyway, sometimes he'd go out, and I'm really a health food nut. So he'd take them out for something like whatever that they weren't really supposed to have. And I was quite okay with that. But they couldn't wait to get home and tell on daddy. Guess what daddy let us have? So, but yeah, they only need one really good leader. And that's the one they will follow right through the teen years. Doesn't mean they love the other ones less. It's just you're the one that sort of they look to for guidance on how their life is going. Like a mentor. Does that make them listen to everyone else and be a doormat? No, you're strengthening them. You're building up confident individuals. A good example of this is if someone had ever come up to my kids and done anything inappropriate or said anything, they would have said, "No, I'm going to tell my mom." They just knew. They were very confident that way. Like, so no, you're actually building strong because they're watching you. You're a strong leader. They sort of take on that persona also. They learn how to do it. They learn how to be their own people. You don't want to raise little sycophants who just do whatever you say, these little obedient little soldiers. Who wants that? That's what the authorities wanted, the authority style parenting. Who wants that? I wouldn't want that. I want them to be strong individuals because if they didn't like what I was doing, they had no problem saying it. "Mom, I think you were a bit unfair the other day." And I go, "Yeah, you're right. I was. What do you want to do?" "Okay, I want to go to the water slide park." So take them up. You see, like it was a mutual thing, but I was very much in charge. I was the leader because they're kids. They need that. When they're teenagers, you want them to be their own leaders, but they run everything by you because they don't want to disappoint you or themselves. Like it's just easy. Getting respect is hard. Maintaining it's a piece of cake. Once you get this, it's a piece of cake. Yeah, you do not want them to be a doormat, and they won't be. My kids were never bullied. Neither was I. I was raised by a leader. I was never bullied. My kids are raised by a leader. They were never bullied. Leadership builds strong, confident kids, happy kids. How do you deal with divorce in children? You put them first. I always say you love your children more than you hate each other. Put them first. That's it. Always think what's best for the kids. And if one of you is doing it and the other one isn't, so you do it. And remember, you're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. Like my ex and I, we still spend Christmases together. No problem. Kids never saw us fart. Kids never saw us fight before or after. They were shocked when we said we're getting a divorce. They were absolutely stunned. They were 9 and 14. He came over for dinner every night for about a week or two after that. And just to sort of ease them into it. And then they said, can Dad not come over every night? Because he was like company. Because they couldn't go and do whatever they wanted. They felt like they had to entertain him. Because otherwise it would just be the two of us sitting there at dinner. So yeah, put them first. Love your children more than you hate each other. And just take the high road, right? They don't care if you're together. They just care if you get along. That's all they care about. Do you get along? Are their needs still being taken care of? When you fight, it drags them down because they take it personally. Every time you fight or anything like that, they think it's their fault. They just do. Sorry about that slip. That was that was a good one. Okay. I may have missed this, but do you deal with two separate homes? He's never known us together. Yeah, well, I was divorced. They didn't have a problem with that. And plus we never had any arrangements. We just did whatever suited everyone. We didn't have any real, we never went to court or anything. And when we finally separated our finances, that was 5 years after we separated. We decided maybe we should separate our finances. And I think we turned up to in the place where you have to do that, there's it is not a courthouse, but some government building where you go in and you officially separate. We'd never even done that. That was it. We had to officially separate and then anyway. So we walked in there together, but they had separate entrances for one of each so that you didn't fight going in. I couldn't believe it. We just walked in together. And then when they said, so is this, do you agree with that? I said to my ex, oh, does this look fair? And he said, yeah. So I just signed it. Oh, it's funny. Yeah, just get along. You chose to have kids with that person. Make the most of it. Remember, I'm assuming he'd have my back like I would his, because that's a father. He's not my ex. I don't look at him that way. I can't even fathom that anymore. But it's it's not even in there anymore. That's the father of my kids. That's how I see him. Someone once said, oh, do you ever see your ex or something? And I said, you mean the father of my kids? I literally don't even think of him that way. Separate yourself from this whole equation. They just care about you getting along. That's it. Who else loves your kids as much as the other parent? I wish you recorded every live. I do. Whoops. They are all on YouTube. That's why I forgot the microphone today, so it's going to be more yucky. But anyway, yeah, I just started doing this about 3 or 4 months ago. So I've got hundreds that weren't recorded, but to be honest, I'm better at it now. When I first started, I have another channel. I just talk about old lady fitness and stuff like that. So you wouldn't be the least bit interested. But anyway, I'm not even interested in what I say on there. It's just more for my grandkids in future. Anyway, on there, I wanted to do my live on here, my very first one, and I was on the other channel instead. And people were coming in saying, why are you talking about parenting? So yeah, I'm kind of glad those old ones aren't recorded anymore. He's mean when he comes home. Yep, that's coaching. Anytime it's confusing, there's different homes, there's step parents, that's coaching. I have to know some history. I have to know how you manage everything. So if you want my help with that, that's specific. I have to get all the pieces of the puzzle together to figure it out. Can't put it together without the more puzzle pieces. I need more context. Yeah, all that stuff that is two different homes, that's multi-leveled and just more confusing. And most teenage stuff is coaching, one-on-one Zoom coaching with me. I can't deal with that here on TikTok. It's too involved. Okay. 3-year-old keeps throwing food on the floor, then steps on it. What to say or do? Do you not have a consequence for that? I'd put it on a behavior board. The behavior board is great because it's a visual tool. It's also a reminder to you. Also, I always say to parents, blame me. You know, there's this Bratbusters lady. She's fixing me as a parent. She told me to do this. So blame me. It just pass the buck onto that board. It just makes it easier for you. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd want to say this is all me. But when you're learning how to do this, you get that board, it just gets you more organized. So no throwing food on the floor. And if you do, there's a consequence. You'll get it. Look at the behavior board. It explains how you do it. That's on bratbusters.com. That behavior board's all free. Coaching is not, but behavior board's all free. And this is all free. I got tons of free stuff out there. What are the best kinds of questions to ask during your lives? Whatever you want. I'll tell you if I can answer or not. Leader versus a bully in kids. That's the exact same question as with parents. Exact. A leader has other people's interests in mind also. A bully only thinks of themselves. That's the difference. That's the absolute difference. Leaders want everyone to be happy. Bullies only want to be happy themselves. Very selfish. That's the difference. And actually, a leader usually puts other people first. Bully would never do that. Not in a million years. Huge difference. So are the other kids around, like let's say you're trying to decide whether or not your kid is a leader or a bully, look at the faces of the kids around them. Real easy to tell. Yeah, I have made lots of videos on consequences. You must be new here because I've been doing this for over a year now, and I got millions of examples on how you discipline. Also, if you go on my behavior board, I do have a whole bunch of examples. That behavior board is going to be replaced hopefully in the next week. I'm doing a new one on a new platform. It's all the same information. It's just laid out a little bit better. That's all. But just so you know, that one's going to be taken down in about a week. But just look at it now, and you know. But anyway, that one hopefully I'll get that done the next week. Was working on it last night in bed and I fell asleep with the laptop. You know how you wake up in the morning and the laptop's all sideways and you're sitting up but your head's down? I've done that a lot. That's why I try not to take my laptop to bed. And turns out there was a whole bunch of gobbledygook on there. So I must have still been typing as I was falling asleep. So I'm not going to post that behavior board. Okay. Curfew for 14-year-old. What's the go-to? Okay. There is no go-to time. I don't believe in curfews. I'll tell you why. Doesn't mean that they can stay out all night. It just means that you kind of discuss what time they're coming home every single time they go out. It gives them some freedom. Like I just don't believe in curfew. I think it's too controlling. 14-year-old, I would have stopped curfews at about 14. And if they're going somewhere, I always knew where my kids were. Now here's how I did it. Especially 15 and 16. 14 is still a little bit young for this, but if they're going to like a friend's house, you know, the parents are there and they're going to, you know, parties are different. My kids never really went to big parties. Those are not safe for anybody, by the way. No, I won't tell you why. Anyway, because should I know? A little bit. If they go to a big open party, they're very susceptible to older people turning up. So it's not just a bunch of kids. If it's an open party with no adults there, older people will turn up, dangerous people. So all sorts of stuff that they do. And usually, yeah, never mind. Anyway, I deal with teenage stuff, teenage crisis work. But anyway, what was curfew. This is what I did with my son. He could have stayed out all night long. He loved gaming. That was his thing. So what I said to him was, I said, okay, so what time do you think you're going to want to come home tonight? And he'd say, well, I don't know. It was always the same conversation. I don't know. I said, okay, well, have fun. So I drop him off. I always knew who he was with and what he was doing because he told me everything, right? So there was no secrets in that. So I said, and the rule was he had to call me on his phone every 90 minutes, 90. I said an hour, and then he said, well, how about 2 hours? And I said, oh, 90 minutes, right? Negotiate everything. Because I just wanted to make sure he was alive. Like that was all. I was just making sure that he didn't do drugs or drink or anything. And that also that no one put anything in a drink that he was drinking. So anyway, That was the rule. Every 90 minutes, he had to call me. Text, anyone could be doing a text. I had to hear his voice. So anyway, that was the rule. Now, if he didn't, we both put our alarms on. So every 90 minutes, our phone alarms would go off. So, and if I was sleeping, I would wake up and I would just wait for his text. If I didn't hear, or wait for his call, if I didn't hear from him, I think I would text him and say, come on, give me a call. And then the rule was, if I have to text you or try and call you twice, I come and get you. And that never happened. It just never happened. So, but yeah, it was just a mutual thing. He never knew how much fun he was going to be having. Like, I don't think it's fair. You got to give him something. You got to give him something on a silver platter. I trusted my kids 100%. And like I just did 100%. Because parents used to say, how can you, here you are teaching parenting. How can you not have a curfew? Because I trusted my kids and it was mutual. We trusted each other. So, and turns out I had every reason to. They're 33 and 28 now. And I was right. I could have trusted them and I did. So anyway, then what would happen too is often if I was sick, and my son only went out really late, it was gaming with his friends. If he only went out really late like that, usually once every week or two. So it wasn't common. And he knew enough not to go out on a school night late or anything like that. He wasn't like, he was respectful, right? So anyway, but the rule was too, is I would say, look, because it woke me up every 90 minutes. I had to wake up every 90 minutes. If it was like 2, 3 in the morning, he was out till. And if I wasn't feeling very well, I would just say to him, look, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to come pick you up in a half an hour. Okay. And he'd go, oh, okay, fair enough. Or if I really was sick, I would say, can you just stay home tonight? And he would. It's mutual respect, right? You got to give it to get it. So yeah, that's why I don't believe in curfews. It's too controlling. It sort of looks like you don't trust your kids. Plus I had all these other rules. We had signals. Like if anything's going on that you don't like, but you don't want your friends to know or someone to know. If you ever get yourself in a sticky situation, we had signals, just a text or one word. I can't remember, it was a code word. So, or if I didn't hear from him too, I knew to go get him. But then I'd say, well, I would park down the block and I would just wait for you. So that was the thing. No one had to see that mommy turned up in the minivan. So yeah, we had it all figured out. Never, no problems at all. From other parents, they say bully, but I'm assuming conflict. So other parents are accusing your kid of being a bully and you're saying no. I don't know what's going on there. How would I know that? I would have to assess it. If you want my help, you have to hire me. That's Zoom coaching one-on-one. Signals, so smart. Yeah, most parents seem to have signals. We had a lot of that stuff going on. I'll tell you a funny story. This isn't really the same thing, but I just like this story. I love telling it. When my son was about 9 and we went up to public places like malls, especially malls, I always took him into the women's bathroom with me. I knew that would be ending soon. He's starting to get to that age where it was getting embarrassing. So he said one day we were at the mall and he goes, I have to go to the bathroom. And he says, look, I really want to go in the men's bathroom. And this is before they had family bathrooms. And even still, he's 9 years old, right? And I knew it was coming to an end anyway. I was just milking it for as long as I could. So I said, okay, fine, go in there. So what I did was as soon as he went in, I held the door open in this crowded men's bathroom in a mall. And I held the door open. I said, okay, sweetie, if you're not out in 2 minutes, mommy's coming in after you. All these men came running out, zipping up their flies and laughing. So yeah, I always kind of made sure my kids were safe. I had my own style. He thought that was pretty funny too. Yeah, who's gonna tamper with a kid? Plus, I won't go into great detail, but yeah, all sorts of stuff can happen. This poor guy. The funny thing is, when I opened up that door, I could see the urinals. I could see everything. I don't. I'm a mother. You know what's funny? They always say, it was a comedian or something. He says, who are you most afraid of? And he said, a mother protecting their young. Darn rights. What to do about my child listening to explicit music? It is all explicit. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the swearing is unbelievable. It's just mainstream. I don't know. You're just going to have to police it. That's up to you. If you don't want them to hear it, you're going to have to police it and just say, no, here's the playlist you can have, and that's it. You're just going to have to control it if you're really worried about it. Depends on their age. I remember, there might be kids watching. Should I say this? I remember my son and I he was about, he would have been 15 because it was when we were in this new house. So he would have been 15 and at least. And we were just chatting and it was downstairs in the rec room where he hung out. His gaming was down there and everything. So we're just chatting and there was a song playing. And the lyric was, if it wasn't for date RAP, I would never get LAI. If it wasn't for date, I'd never get. And I was, we were just chatting, and I'm like, this is when the rude stuff was really starting to pick up, like, rap and all that was coming out. And I went like this, and I can never usually hear lyrics. It's like I'm lyric deaf. And I stopped and I said, did they just say if it wasn't for Dave? My son said, yeah, he says, I wondered if you'd heard that. So it's just so rude out there right now. And you just have to police it, make playlists that are safe. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. I can't stop what's out there, and they have access to the internet. I mean, you do the math, right? I never tried to protect my kids from stuff like that. I just armed them with mom's information. I talked to them about everything, everything. Awkward as it was, we talked all the time about everything. So because I talked to them about everything, they were so well prepared with information. Information is power. You're never going to scare kids into getting into trouble by information. They're more likely to get into trouble if you don't talk to them. Information isn't the problem, it's the lack of it that's the problem. Oh, he's 15. Yeah, it's inevitable. Yeah. Good luck with that. Sometimes I think I'm too young to hear what's out there. I'm only 62. But yeah, some of the stuff. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story too. My son was, I don't know, teenager, and he liked heavy metal, and he was gothic too. And he wanted to get tats and piercings. And I said to him, I'll tell you what, because I never told my kids what to do, really. They just were easy. And I said, I'll tell you what, I don't want you to get any tats and piercings, because he wanted the big backgammon piece in his ear kind of, you know what I mean, the big stuff. And I said, I'll tell you what, that's a lifelong decision you're making at this age. I said, how about you don't do any of that permanent stuff and you just do whatever you want with your hair. And he grew it down to there, and he streaked it black, white, and silver. And then he went gothic. That was his way of sort of expressing himself. And I didn't have a problem with that. Anyway, he really got into heavy metal music, and I hated it. So I said, look, and I always try and get into their world and respect it and understand it. So I said, look, by the way, I did end up liking his hair. It's now short. He's 33 now. But anyway, so I said, look, I hate this music. I said, do you think you could find some songs that I might like? You know what ended up being my favorite album? You'll have to look it up. Actually, if it's a kid. Yeah, they would know what this is anyway. It was NWA's Greatest Hits. I won't say it again. And I had to close the sunroof and all the windows on the minivan to play it. It was so vile. And but I love the beat. I'm all about the beats, because the lyrics, I heard them, but they're awful. And but yeah, so it opened up my mind to his world too. You got to be open-minded. Doesn't mean you have to start being goth and trying to act cool. I never did anything like that. I was always a dorky mom, but I was a fun mom, but I was not cool at all. And but yeah, you want to be open to what they're listening to. So he actually made up playlists of things I might like. I also liked Scottish heavy metal or something. It was a really specific sound. And then there was another band that the drummer played in the round cage, and he was hanging upside down playing the drums. I like that band too. So who would have thunk someone older, like in my 50s at the time, and here I was listening to NWA and all that. So yeah, open your mind, just because first impression might not be any good, there's a reason why they like it. So try and enter their world sometimes, but with respect. You don't hang out with their friends and do all that. Oh, back to 2-year-olds. Oh, whole different thing. Okay. They came out in 2001. You're talking about NW? Yeah. That's embarrassing. I still listen to it. Isn't that awful? My son hates it now, like he's gone off that, but I still listen to it. Okay. During a tantrum, 2-year-old starts throwing stuff off the table and hitting too. Yeah, no, you ignore the tantrum, but you restrain them. You don't let them be violent, in other words. So you just hold on to them and ignore them. And will they get worse? You bet they will. That's okay. That's on them. You got to keep them alive if they're going to bang their head on something or throw something through a window. So you restrain them, but you still don't look at them or talk to them. They get it. They get it. They just understand. I've worked with hundreds of kids. They just understand this. So I remember I used to volunteer at the daycare center when I was 11 years old, and they couldn't figure out why the kids didn't have tantrums as much around me. It's because I ignored them. I reward the calm, not the crazy. I don't give any attention to the crazy, just the calm. And the kids learn. They were little, and they start to learn this stuff. So many people judge your parenting based off short videos, but your style reminds me of my mom. She's my best friend in the whole world. Now 28. Well, my daughter's 28. We're best friends. We both live downtown, and we live like a 5-minute walk, and we see each other pretty much every day. We talk at least once a day. Yeah, we're best friends. I was best friends with my mom. My mom was more the leader type. I'm the leader, and it's friendship is number one. You want to be friends with your kids when they're adults. When they're kids and teenagers, number one is mom. Now I'm still mom before I'm anything really, but it's who needs it now. But yeah, and when people judge me, maybe people won't believe this, but anyone who's been watching me for a while, when people come spewing out hate at me, I freaking love it. It means I'm shaking things up. It means I'm challenging the trends that are out right now, which is exactly what I want to do. Because I don't know what's out there in that I've never looked at it, but my clients tell me every single day. And yeah, you bet. When people come spewing at me, doesn't that say a lot about how they feel about what they're doing? You don't get angry at people when you're secure about what you're doing. So yeah, I'm shaking things up, and that's a good thing. I've never been bullied. Like, people, doesn't bother me. My mom was absolutely, she was the person I told everything to. And, but if I'd ever acted out or done anything rude or stupid or anything, this would have been my mom. She would have gone, "Are you kidding me with this?" And I would have been embarrassed because I looked up to her. Like, she just had a way about her. Like, she barely said anything, but she talked a lot. But when she was mad or didn't like what I did, she got real quiet. And, "Are you kidding me with this?" "Never mind, nothing." So yeah. I was 55 when she died, and this is kind of funny. It was, she was 93. Anyway, we always said, she used to say, because I always said, I hope you die in my arms. It was just, we just talked like that. And then she said, yeah, she goes, "But we'll have nothing to say. We've said it all a million times. Every single day we said how much we loved each other and how important we are to each other. We'd have nothing to say." She was dying in my arms. And I said to her, because they can't see or feel you when they're in their last moments, right? But they can still hear. And that's what the doctor said. She goes, "She can still hear you, so keep talking, but she can't feel you or see you." So anyway, I'm holding her, and I said, "You're right, Mom. I've got nothing to say. We've said it all." And she sort of, she breathed funny. So she was laughing as she was dying. She was right. That's what you want. You want your parents to go out and they're your best friend. You've got nothing left to say. You've said it all. And that's what I want with my kids too. You want to be friends with your parents. You don't want all that, animosity and all that. And yeah, that's what leadership does. It makes you best friends. The parenting style is uncanny, and I love it. Always wanted to be the mom she was. I'm trying. Yeah, my mom was different. She let a lot more go. She was a lot more lenient than I was. And but I didn't let anything go. But yeah, we had very similar styles. Best friends with our kids. I was very goofy and silly. She wasn't at all. She was more the gamer. She was very funny and witty, but not goofy at all. Very different styles, but still leaders. Because I told my mom everything, and my kids told me everything. So you want to be a leader is a safe place to land, and you can be best friends with your kids. Absolutely. Thank you for your video. You're very welcome. I love what I do. I was talking to someone the other day on coaching, and they said, this was a couple weeks ago, and they said, "I've never seen anyone who loves their job as much as you do." And I love, love, love what I do. Plus, I'm helping people. I just love this. It's a gift to be able to do what you love, right? 1-year-old throws tantrum. Can I give her something to distract her from tantrums, or is that not good? Okay, there's 3 things I hate. One is timeout. That's my least favorite. I still hate timeout. The second one I hate the most, it's the second one I hate the most. I can never say that right. It's distractions. Like, "Here's some candy," because you never distract with broccoli. It's always a reward for bad behavior. But hear me out. The worst one is the countdown method. You better stop that hitting your sister. And by the time I count to 3, they learn that in the short term, it's okay to pound your sister. Long term, no. So it's a mixed message. With babies, you can use distraction, but it's not like, "Here's some candy." It's more like this. Let's say a baby's just having a tantrum, they just finished. You're kind of ignoring, but usually holding them when they're still babies and having a tantrum, or you're right there. You want to keep them safe, right? But then you might just sit and read a book with them after. So as soon as they're starting to do that and they're coming out of it, then you're just reading a book casually, calmly reading a book, and then they can join in. So you're distracting them with something like that, where you're just doing something that they usually love, and it's nurturing, like reading a book or whatever they like. But yeah, it's not like, here's some candy. So that touched me. What, my mom dying in my arms. Do you know what? Death is horrible, and my mom was my best friend. It was very traumatizing. I was so traumatized by her death. She was the person when I was living in Australia for 20 years, I wrote to her every single day. I told her absolutely. We probably were closer in those 20 years than we ever were when we were together. When I moved back here to sort of be around for her, that's the only reason I moved back from Australia. When I moved back, because she wasn't well, she was like 85 or something at the time, was not well, and she needed her. I'm the only daughter. She needed her daughter here, so I moved back. My ex-husband moved back too. I mean, because he loved my mom too. He did the right thing. So anyway, when I moved back, we stopped emailing every single day, and we both missed it. We lived 5 minutes away, and we ended up going back to our daily emails. It was just beautiful. Anyway, but yeah, she was my best friend. And when she died, I was so traumatized and I was 55 years old. My kids were there and everything after she died. My brother arrived late, unfortunately. But anyway, but that night I stayed up all night. My dad had died when I was 14. And it was funny because I wasn't just thinking about my mom. I went through my whole childhood with my mom and my dad. And I was staring at this place here's the weird part. I was staring at this spot in the wall. I stayed up all night and I couldn't blink. By the end of it, I hadn't blinked all night. I'm just like this. And then my whole childhood went in front of my head. My eyeballs were so dry, I had to throw water in them. And even then it scratched to blink. I hadn't blinked all night. Isn't that weird? And my whole childhood was like a movie, was on the wall in front of me. I saw my whole childhood. Isn't that weird? Anyway, everyone grieves differently. And it took me 2 years before I even really started to grieve. But anyway. I could not have orchestrated a better goodbye. It was beautiful. Okay, 3-year-old is speech delayed. So do you think his tantrums are because he's not able to communicate? No. Kids don't care if they can communicate so long as they feel understood. Does that make sense? Also, kids tantrum because they didn't get what they want, when they want, and how they wanted it. They don't tantrum because they're not understood. They only tantrum when they don't get what they want, when they want, how they wanted it. Whether or not they communicate that or not is kind of irrelevant. You already know what they want usually, right? So yeah, it's just a lack of not getting what they want. Kids could care less if you understand them, so long as they get what they want. See, it's just what they want. There's this whole thing about they should feel understood and validate all their feelings. And sometimes if I get a child psychologist as a client, they want to know why. My methods sort of contradict all that. They hire me because they realize that they just think it makes sense, but they don't quite know all the psychology behind it. The reason is children need leadership way more than they need every thought and feeling to be understood. They are desperate for a leader, for guidance, for a mentor, for someone to look up to. That's what they're missing. And it makes them feel unsafe, makes them tantrum more, makes them feel more emotionally unstable, makes them be more sensitive. The leadership is where it's at. And part of leadership is ignoring the crazy and rewarding the calm. But anyway. And if I do have a child psychologist, if you're watching, when I do get child psychologists for clients, they tell me the proper terms of a lot of what I'm saying. And I said, could you imagine me going on air and talking like that? That would not be me at all. I have no education with any of this. I just get it. But it's just common sense and experience, right? But yeah, there's terms evidently out there for what I'm talking about, but I don't care. It's not how I learn. It's very basic. How do you reverse trauma? That's coaching. I've dealt with a lot of children who've been abused in every way possible from very young ages, unfortunately. And yeah, that's coaching. So if you want my help, it has to be one-on-one coaching. That's on my website, bratbusters.com. So yeah, I do a lot of trauma work. That's kind of how I started my business. It was working with crisis. And I used to do a lot of TV and radio. And one day I was introduced as the crisis queen, and I stopped doing media work because I don't want to be known for crisis work. I want to be known for prevention work. Prevention work. I want all parents to say after working with me, this is my goal. Is that, you know what? My kids are happier. I'm happier. Everything's just easier. That's all I want. That's all I want. I want you to wallow in parenting as much as I did. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life. It was just laughing because I got all that pesky discipline out of the way when they were tiny, and then we respected each other, and it was just fun. That's what I want for you. Yeah, keep it simple. How do you establish yourself as a leader? Just keep watching, keep watching. You can start with my behavior board when they're 3. And that's how you learn how to give respect to get it, because this is about giving respect to get it. And part of giving respect is being a leader. Children desperately need, crave, and want a leader. If you don't provide that leadership for them, they instinctively will look elsewhere for it, or they'll try and be the leader. So they're going to be looking elsewhere. It'll either be they're going to look to themselves for it. You do really want a 3-year-old raising themselves? No, they need leadership. Anyway, they're going to be more susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be very vulnerable out there in the world if you're not a leader at home. Whenever I hear about kids who are being bullied and really sensitive, I know you're not a leader, because leaders just doesn't happen with leaders. I remember people used to say to me all the time, like, I have always walked into any room and I've always thought, I hope I like someone. It would never cross my mind to think, I hope people like me. Like, that's a very weak place to come from, because I'm the exact same. Everyone who meets me, I'm more vulnerable and goofy when I'm not on here, but it's the same personality. But yeah, I know who I am. And from the time I was really little, and people used to say, how do you do that? And it was my mom. It was sort of the same. Like, we are who we are. You're either going to like me or you're not. Chances are, if you hate me, it's probably going to be mutual anyway. I don't think we should all like each other. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being liked by everybody. I'm not the least bit vulnerable with strangers at all. Could care less what they think of me. I'm very vulnerable with my loved ones. They could look at me the wrong way and I'd probably wet myself. So yeah, it's very different, right? But strangers, they don't know me. So why do I care what they think? So my mom gave me that. She gave me that gift of confidence out there in the world. Are tantrums results to giving in? Children are either born to have tantrums or they're not. I knew in the womb that my son was going to have tantrums, because I would push on his foot. You know, when they get up the solar plexus and you go, you lose your breath for a second. So you have to get their foot out of you push down. He would push back and squirm around. And I thought, oh, he's going to have tantrums. And my daughter, same thing. I'd push and she'd pull her leg in and not move for like a whole hour. I thought, she's never going to have a tantrum. They're born with them. They're born with that temperament. It's a temper. They're born with that temperament. It's just the way it is. So, but when you learn how to ignore tantrums and be a leader and all that stuff that I talk about all the time, their tantrums, oh God, I get this wrong. The word duration, I always forget the duration. You're going to shorten the duration, the frequency, and the intensity of tantrums. They'll eventually peter out. If you keep feeding them with attention, they're going to get stronger and last longer, and they're going to have more of them. And yeah, so you ignore the crazy, reward the calm. Like when they're finished with a tantrum, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go to the park. You see, they just learn, wait a minute, at the end of it, Mom's talks to me, so I may as well stop. They just learn. Once they start to be able to reason, they just stop having tantrums. The Kardashians, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's probably not the exact models that I would want for my kids. There's a lot worse out there, though. Please answer my question. If I don't answer questions, it's because they're too similar to other ones, or it scrolls. Because when I'm on one of my tangents and I go on and on, then I go back to my thumb, put my thumb on here, they all roll up, and I can't go backwards because I get vertigo, because I'm old. You get vertigo when you get old. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. I'm really good at parenting. Like, this is my thing. It's what I'm great at. Easy. It always came easy to me. That's it. We all have something we're good at. That's all I'm really good at. We all have some. Oh, cleaning and sewing. I've taught cleaning and organizing and sewing and fitness. I used to teach fitness, and those are things I'm good at. But everything else is that's it. We're only good. We all are good at something, right? Plus, I'm finished parenting, so it's kind of frustrating. It's not like something you can do the rest. Well, I guess I'm still sort of doing it, but it's kind of like, well, that was fun, but now it's over. It was very hard for me to adjust to my kids leaving because I loved it. Okay. How do you give your children confidence from being a leader yourself? I was watching my mom all the time because I looked up to her so much. She was very much a leader. Um, Very strong personality, but very, very easygoing. I never saw her yell or she never had a confrontation or anything. She was very funny, very witty, and people loved her. People were drawn to her. And yeah, I just admired that. And she always could walk in anywhere and talk to anyone. And my brother's the same. We can both walk in anywhere and talk to anyone. And so, yeah, it's something that I think it's modeled behavior, or you're just born with it. Some kids, my mom said you were kind of born that way. Like, yeah, she said when you were little, she had to go into my preschool. I remember her telling me about this. She had to go into my preschool because the teacher said, "Can you please tell Lisa?" I was 3. She said, "Can you please tell Lisa that she's not the teacher that I am?" You know what I was doing? The kids were all, I remember this. I can literally remember that day. I was so embarrassed that the teacher was talking about me and she wasn't happy with me. I was humiliated because I had a lot of pride. I was kind of born old. Like my daughter was like that too. It's humiliating getting in trouble. Anyway, so evidently, and I remember this, what was happening was the teacher wasn't policing the students. They were all butting and pushing in front of each other to get on this slide. So I thought they should be in order. So I said, "You were next, then you were next." And I was getting them to follow the rules. And they were listening to me and they weren't listening to the teacher. She wasn't doing anything. So then the teacher came over and the kids, and anyway, so she didn't like the fact that I was telling the kids, and they were better. They weren't fighting because they were waiting in line. So you see, I was born to do this. I was 3. How embarrassing though. I can still remember that feeling. How embarrassing. Ugh. So I'm just going back and reading some questions here. What time is it? Oops, I've been on here for over an hour now. I got to get going actually. Oh yeah, I got to get going. Anyway, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. I will answer one more question after this. You can hire me for coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. And or you can buy one of my courses or download my free behavior board. I will be changing that. I'll be deleting the old one because I'm making a new one and it's going to be put somewhere else. I'm just fixing it. It just looks a little bit nicer. I didn't like the way the other one looked. So anyway, I'm updating it. It's a year old now. So anyway, I'm updating that just to let you know. It'll still be available for the next week or so, but just read it and you'll get it. And if you want to go to the other one, it'll be on my website. As soon as I change it over, it'll be on my website. So you just have to sign up for another one. Never mind, I'm just yabbering. Okay, so I'll do one more. Are there ways to establish yourself as the leader before 3 years old, or is that when it really sinks in? It's really when it sinks in. 3 and 9 months is really when it just is cemented. If you're good at it, that's when their cognitive ability just seems to switch. I always say 3 years old and 9 months, 3 3/4 is when they understand they're not the only people in the world. They just sort of change. You can just see it. They're looking around in a different way. They're finding their place in the world. It's a little bit different. So yeah, I would say that's when it really sinks in. But you can build up like my kids knew even when they were little, like dad was the one that they could get away with stuff. Mom was never that one. So, they just look over at me and I'd be looking at them like that and they go, oops, whereas dad didn't catch on to stuff like that. And it was the same with my mom. My dad was the treat master. I could get away with anything with him. And so, yeah, but you can establish that when they're really little, they know who they can push farther than the other. They will learn that. And they're usually drawn to the one they can't push. They're just naturally drawn to the leader. It doesn't mean they love you more. It's just they're naturally drawn. It's like they're just like zombies going towards the leader because they desperately need that. So anyway, I got to run. Thanks so much for watching me, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye now.